Before we get into the wrestling stuff of this video, I should note this portion of the video was filmed after the main portion of the video because I forgot to talk about it, and so now I'm just kind of backtracking. And through fancy, not so good editing, I'm just kind of inserting it into the beginning of the video just to get it out of the way. So here we go. My experience at the XFL game, the DC Defenders versus the New York Guardians. And what are my thoughts on the XFL? And we can talk about that real quick before I jump into the wrestling stuff. So, the XFL, first of all, the game was cold as fuck. It was so cold outside, and I am so goddamn done with winter. It was like 20 degrees all day. It was terrible, terrible. And by the time we left the game, I was like, I need to be somewhere warm, like now. I'm just done. Also, the game was a shutout. The DC Defenders just destroyed the Guardians. And the Guardians' quarterback in particular was awful. Fucking terrible. And so it wasn't a very good game. But I will say, fun was to be had. It was a fun atmosphere, and it was fun to be in a crowd. Smaller venue was the place where the DC United, the soccer team, typically plays. And so it was a smaller venue. Not completely full. I'd say it was about 85% full. But the fans were there to enjoy football. There were actually a bunch of different NFL teams represented with all the winter coats and hats that I saw walking around. I saw some Colts jerseys and some Packers jerseys and some Patriots jerseys and Cowboys and Eagles and Giants and Redskins and pretty much everybody. It felt like it was just a bunch of football fans that were there to just enjoy football. But the DC Defenders, I'll admit, they do have some pretty cool merch with the shields and the hammers and everything. And right outside the venue, they had a design your own shield little art stand. I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. And they got some neat things going on. And the fans obviously had fun. You may have seen it in the crowd. A bunch of fans, nowhere near my section, but a bunch of fans stacked up like a ton of drinking cups that made kind of a snake that went across like nine sections of the stadium or something crazy like that. It was really funny. Some people in my section thought, did they steal a pipe or something? Like, what are they ripping the stadium apart? No, they're just stacking drinking cups. It's fine. So the atmosphere was really fun, and I did have fun while I was there, even though I was cold as shit and the game was a blowout. There was a little bit more, because it was a smaller venue, there was a little bit more like fan interaction, I guess you could say. Like with the extra point system being what it is, a lot of fans were chanting, "Go for three! Go for three! Go for three!" And they did it at the end of the game. They didn't get any points. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But it was still fun that it felt like the fans were calling the plays. Which that was kind of a hoot. What did I think of the actual football? Like I said, game itself wasn't that good. New York quarterback was terrible. So bad that they benched him before... I think they benched him about halfway through the fourth quarter. And some of the rule differences in the XFL were a little weird. The two big things are how they do extra points and the kickoff. Now, the kickoff was weird because the way they have it set, all the players are all over by where the guy receiving the ball is. But they're not allowed to move or do anything until the receiver catches the ball, and then the kickoff play basically starts. And I think they did that to prevent, it was like an injury prevention thing, to, the full speed head-on collisions and that type of stuff. And I thought maybe there was a possibility that guys would have an easier chance of breaking tackles and getting a touchdown on those. I don't think that's worked out at all. It seemed like it's even harder to get kick out, to break a run and make it to the end zone. I don't know. It just felt weird, and it felt awkward and weird and didn't really pay off in any kind of exciting plays. So I don't know what the goal was there with that. I'm just speculating, but as is, it didn't really work for me. And the extra point system is really weird, where if you look at the field, there's like 3 X's in the red zone. And when a team scores a touchdown, they then have an opportunity to go for extra points, and they can set up the play at 1X, I believe that's on the 2-yard line, and one's on the 5-yard line, and one's on the 10-yard line. I believe. I don't quote me on that. I'm just kind of basing this off of memory from like 5-6 days ago. But it's so basically your only options are to go for 2-point conversions at different positions on the field to get more or less points. And the DC Defenders, like I said, they shut New York out and scored all the points, but they didn't get an extra point the entire game. And it's like, if extra points are impossible to get, then it kind of becomes like, I don't know, less exciting in a way, because it kind of takes the strategy out of it. So I would like, what I would have liked to have had is like, look, just keep the extra point kicks. Keep that. It's an easy 1 point. But if you want to go for more, you have the option for a 2-point or a 3-point conversion. I think the 3-point conversion adds a little bit of sexiness to it, but I think keeping the 1-point kickoff would have kept it a little, maybe a little, I don't know, maybe some people would have seen that as too traditional, but I think it maintains like the strategy portion of it, because then maybe it forces the other team eventually to eventually start going for 3 on extra points, which that could make things a lot more fun. I don't know. But so yeah, the extra point situation, it's interesting, but I don't think it's fully fleshed out yet. Kickoffs, it's interesting, but I don't know if it's working in the way they intended it to. And like I said, it's not the NFL, so you don't expect the highest quality football given the talents that were available to them. But overall, I had a fun day. It was a fun day of football. It's nice to have a DC football team that isn't a complete embarrassment. It looks like it's going to win the whole championship, which, by God, if the DC Defenders win the XFL championship, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind, because that's going to be funny as hell. And Dan Snyder is going to have so much egg on his face, it'll be too much to handle. So that was my experience with the XFL game, and I'll say this, I've decided to try and catch the games this weekend, to try and get a better feel for how the XFL plays on TV. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, so, a good time was had. Hello, everyone. I have to apologize for a couple of things. First of all, my chair, my old chair was no longer cutting it, so I had to go out and get a new office chair. This one is slightly taller than my old one, so the view might be a little bit different. I'm still trying to adjust to it myself. It's kind of thrown off my shooting a little bit, how I'm framing the shot for this oh-so-important video and my work. It's messing up my work. God damn it. Sorry if I'm belligerent. I'm drinking spiked hot cocoa, so it's fucking cold out and I want some whiskey. So, best of both worlds. Spiked hot cocoa. But the other thing I have to apologize for is also, I had this video halfway done last night, and then my microphone cord cut. So I had to go run out today and get a new microphone. And I was like, shit. The video was literally halfway done, and then I was just moving around, and the microphone cord got pulled, and it tore. So yeah. But hopefully I sound all right now. This is me testing out the new mic. Hopefully it sounds okay. And yeah, I've got a lot to cover in this video. Got a few shows to review, and one show to preview, and also a couple other things I wanted to talk about, because after last night's video didn't go well, it got me thinking about other things that I could talk about, and a proposed new video series for this channel. And I'll ask you guys and see what you think. You can comment down below on what you think. But getting right on that, first of all, in the last video I talked about the potential WrestleMania card, and I think I proposed matches such as Triple H versus Finn Balor, and I had Undertaker doing something. I don't remember what. I don't even remember what I proposed, to be honest. Oh, it was Undertaker versus Sting. Like, I was thinking, there were rumors running around that Undertaker versus Sting was going to happen. And I was like, oh no, dear God, please don't do that. And, it's broken today, and not necessarily broken, but the rumors are heavily implying that Triple H might not have a match at WrestleMania this year, and Undertaker is going to work with AJ Styles. Now, it was also, if Triple H is truly not working WrestleMania this year, I'm like, huzzah, thank you, dear Jesus. We don't have to sit through a 30-minute Triple H match with an ungodly long entrance or anything like that. So if that's the case and he's not working Mania, huzzah. Now, is it possible that he could work NXT TakeOver the night before and have that match with Finn Balor that I talked about? Entirely possible, but I don't have to put up with him at WrestleMania, so that's a plus. That's a plus right off the bat. And AJ versus Undertaker, that's an interesting one. Again, I don't know if it's going to be as good as it could have been a few years ago, because seeing what we see from Undertaker these days. But and the other part of that is that I know Undertaker's going to go over, and I'm just like, I don't want to see AJ put over Undertaker. But Undertaker is in this weird place where I think just getting to work with him at this point is, well, It's like AJ's not an up-and-comer. He's already an established star, and he's already had his success in the WWE, so it's not like I want AJ to go further and farther. It's more, I mean, AJ's already a legend. He's already established himself, and he succeeded all over the world before coming to WWE, and then came in and succeeded in WWE. So Taker beating him is not going to be the end of the world, but I would, you ask me, I would prefer it if AJ went over. But at least, props for creating a match that we've never seen before, if that's the case. And that we are getting AJ versus Undertaker. I'm like, okay, at least it's a match we've never seen before. I'll give him that. And there's also talk that it's going to be John Cena versus Elias, which I'm like, okay. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Elias is a guy that you've already ruined and destroyed. And this is a guy that got the act over, and then he just became like a glorified jobber. Cena actually ate him up and spat him out right before his match with Taker, where Undertaker ate him up and spat him out. So it's so you got one guy that's already, in my opinion, damaged beyond repair, going up against John Cena making his WrestleMania return, and I'm like, what the fuck's the point of that? Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's a waste of John Cena, and it's just, even if Elias goes over, who cares? Like, it's like all the things you could have done, and you couldn't think of anything more interesting to do with John Cena. And again, Elias, you've already ruined him, and I feel sorry for him, but that's true. I guess he gets a big payday from getting to work with John Cena, but it's like, who cares? Like, honestly, who the fuck cares? But anyway, so, again, WrestleMania is shaping up. Maybe I should start watching Raw and Smackdown again, just so I know, like, what the hell's going on each show, because I haven't watched either one. I have not watched a single episode of Raw or Smackdown in 2020 thus far, so that tells you where I am. But, speaking of weekly Monday night shows, one show that I have been watching on the WWE Network is WCW Monday Nitro. And it really has sparked a lot of fond memories of watching those early episodes. And in my viewing of Nitro, I left off right at the Bash at the Beach Go Home episode of Nitro. So right before the Hogan turn and right before the NWO officially forms. But I've been watching the development of the Outsiders angle and how all of that is going. And it kind of got me going, like, okay, what if I do a new series of videos just not reviewing specific episodes of Nitro, because that would get way too into the weeds. Excuse me. That would get way too into the weeds. But what if I do a video series about, like, let's say I do a video next week and I just talk about the pre-NWO era of Monday Nitro. And then from then on, it's like, all right, the rest of 96, and then do the first half of 97, and the second half of 97, and then pretty much go all the way. What I want to do with Nitro, I want to watch all the way up to the Finger Poke of Doom, because that's really the beginning of the end right there. And I figured I could watch at least most of the good stuff leading up to the Finger Poke of Doom, and I could probably make a pretty fun video series out of that and just kind of do it as I'm watching these Nitros, and once I get to a certain point, I can film the video and go and basically talk about that, 6-month period or so in Nitro's history, and probably do something with that. So if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, please comment down below, because I'm kind of interested in doing it. It's, it's kind of been giving me, and again, I haven't even gotten to the NWO yet, and watching these shows, I'm like, man, there's some stuff I kind of like on these shows. There's a lot of bad stuff too, but there's some stuff that is like better than I remembered it. There's some stuff that I forgot about completely, and there's some stuff that's absolutely terrible. But there's some stuff that really worked for me as well. So I'd love to talk about some of that, including the very interesting little historical nugget that Big Van Vader, who was one of the icons of WCW, never actually performed on WCW Nitro, which feels completely wrong, but it's the case. Vader never actually wrestled on Nitro, which is crazy to me. Although he was in the original intro for Nitro, because he hadn't been fully phased out yet. So that's interesting. But yeah, I feel like I could probably do a lot just talking about different periods in Monday Nitro's history and watching the best years of Nitro, because, we all agree that everything from Scott Hall's debut up until about, most of 97 was like the highlight, the height of the NWO. With 98, you see some dents in the armor, but overall it's still very, very good with the rise of Goldberg and various things like that. But, yeah, tell me all what you think. It's something that I'm kind of interested in doing, and I've kind of got the itch to do those videos. So if that's something you'd be interested in me doing, just comment down below, and we'll see what happens. But another interesting thing about this channel, this video right here is actually my 700th upload. It is not my 700th video, because back in the days of yore, back in the olden days of YouTube, they had time limit restrictions. And 2 of my videos in the first year of me making videos, 2 of my videos were split into several different parts. And that was my way of getting around the time limit. I think it was my first question and answers video, and I had another one that was split into 2 parts. So I think, if my math is correct, this video is actually 696, and I've got 4 more to go before reaching 700 videos. So maybe I'll do something special for my 700th video. Who knows? I can't believe I've made that many. It's like, oh god damn, what have I done with my life? My 10th anniversary is coming up in June or July. I'll have to look that up as well. But you know, I haven't wasted my life on YouTube. You know, I have a job, full-time job. I'm a homeowner. You know, I have a 401k. Life is pretty good, so I haven't completely wasted away in front of the YouTube webcam, but that's I've made a pretty good life for myself, so I'm happy. But now it's time to get into the show reviews. I want to talk about New Beginning, both in Sapporo and in Osaka, New Japan's big shows in February. These happened a few weeks ago, so I'm a little behind on these, so I'm not going to go through each and every match, because we'll be here all day. But I do want to talk about the 2 shows in Sapporo. I thought night 1 was a little dull. It was just a bunch of matches, basically. Nothing really stood out to me. Hiroki Goto versus Shingo Takagi was the main event that was for the Never Openweight title. That was the main event of night 1, and it was fine, but nothing on that show really stood out to me. Night 2, the 2 closing matches were pretty solid. We had Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Will Ospreay. Not as good as some of their other matches that I've seen, but still a really good match between these 2. I mean, these are 2 of my favorite guys to watch, and you know, this was a really enjoyable match, and with the referee stoppage, it makes me think that maybe we can get more matches out of them down the road. And the main event was Kazuchika Okada versus Taichi, which was a solid match, but also went on for like half an hour, and I'm like, you know, and I guess, A, it's a main event closer, B, Okada likes to show that he's a really good worker and have those really long matches, and C, maybe there was some intent to try and elevate Taichi to a higher level, but I don't know, I look at that and I go, it's like, Taichi's a mid-card guy, and it's like, you know, Okada should be beating him fairly easily, and those half-hour matches should be reserved for the guys that could really believably push Okada to the limit, like a Tanahashi, or an Omega, or something like that, a Naito, for example. But overall, I thought it was a good match. That was a good, solid match. I just thought it was weird that Taichi's in a half-hour-long match. Unless this is part of like a long-term deal to try and like elevate him. But the better stuff was in the Osaka show, where we got 4 really good singles matches, I thought. Jay White versus Sonata was a really good match. You had Hiromu Takahashi defending the junior heavyweight title against Ryu Lee, which was a very good match, again, with all the storyline callbacks of Ryu Lee working with him the night that Takahashi got hurt, and, you know, going back, I think it's almost like 2 years at this point, long time, and so I thought they had an excellent match with Takahashi successfully defending the title. It's funny, I think I've gotten used to calling him Ryu Lee finally. It's like, because I've been calling him Dragon Lee for months, and it's like, I can't get used to it. It's Dragon Lee, goddammit. Anyway, I thought that match was great. Arguably the best match of the weekend. And I say arguably because I think the next match was actually my favorite match of all the New Beginning shows. Jon Moxley defending the United States Championship against Minoru Suzuki. This was everything I wanted it to be. It was a wild-ass brawl between 2 wrestling psychopaths, and I really enjoyed it. It was believably intense. It was wild, it was fun, and it was 2 guys that believably convey personalities that they are completely insane. and you put them together and it makes magic. So I really enjoyed this match. That was the match I was really looking forward to, and I thought it really delivered. I really enjoyed it. Moxley, of course, retained, and also props to Moxley for wearing the eye patch and keeping continuity with his injury in AEW. I thought that was a very nice touch, but very good match. Easily my favorite match of all the New Beginning shows, and very good stuff. And then we had the main event, Tetsuya Naito defending both of his belts, the World and IC titles, against Kenta. I thought the main event was very good. It maybe dragged a little bit. Maybe it was a little longer than it needed to be. But I thought the last 10 minutes or so were great, especially with Kenta using the exposed turnbuckle and busting Naito open. I thought that added a lot of tension and a lot of drama to the match, and made the closing minutes a lot more exciting. So overall, really enjoyed it. Naito got the win, and I thought it was very interesting that they did the match here because it's Naito's first title defense. So you're thinking, okay, I guess there's a chance that Naito could lose, but it's highly unlikely that he's going to lose. And I wondered maybe they should have saved this for Dominion, where after a few months of build-up, it's like, and Naito's had a couple title defenses under his belt, it's like, okay, maybe Kenta's going to beat him. And I thought that angle coming out of Wrestle Kingdom was so hot that it was like, oh man, that's something that you save for down the road, not do it right away in February. But as is, I thought it was a very good match, and it'll be interesting to see what Naito does moving forward. I could imagine them doing scenarios where he's defending both belts in separate matches on a couple of different shows. That could be the idea for Dominion, who knows. But I thought this main event was really good, and like I said, the closing minutes were excellent. And the big matches in Osaka delivered, so I thought the Osaka show was easily the best one of the 3 New Beginning events, for sure. And those 4 singles matches I thought made for a really good show. And then we have NXT TakeOver Portland, which was last Sunday, so I'm almost a week late on this one, but I figured I might as well talk about it. I thought it was very good. It's another strong TakeOver special. Since I've been doing videos, I think I've reviewed every single TakeOver special, and none of them have been below a B. They have been remarkably consistent with these TakeOver shows. They deliver great action, excitement all the way through. I think this was a 3-hour show, and it breezed by. It was easy, breezy viewing, well-paced, and overall a really good show. Was it perfect? Probably not. I have a few nitpicks here and there, but overall I was entertained by the show pretty much top to bottom. So let's start with what was my favorite match on the show. The opening bout for the North American Championship, Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic, with Keith Lee successfully defending the championship. Now, I like a good Haas match. I like big guys smacking the crap out of each other. That's what I like. It's a simple thing that I like, but it's something that I really enjoy, and I thought this match delivered on that, as well as also showing off the athleticism of both guys and what they're capable of doing. And these two guys can do some incredible things in there, especially for guys their size. And I thought this was a worthy... Sorry, my camera went out of focus. What's going on here? There we go. Okay, we're back. I'm not going to edit that out, by the way. But anyway, so I thought that these two had an excellent match that's worthy of the series of matches that they've been having for a while. And good stuff. It was just really good stuff, top to bottom. Really enjoyed it. Keith Lee got the win. I was happy with that. I'm really digging Keith Lee these days in NXT. He's slowly becoming my favorite guy to watch in NXT. But overall, very good match. Great opener. Good stuff. Next up, we had the street fight. Dakota Kai taking on her former friend Tegan Nox. Dakota Kai got the win after interference from Raquel Gonzalez. Now, I'm going to make a weird comparison here, and it's going to be a long walk for a short glass of water, but bear with me. This match was structured very similarly to the Undertaker-Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell match. Again, bear with me. The babyface, who's Tegan Nox, basically dominated the entire match, or if not the entire match, at least like 80% of it. It was just more about the heel getting the absolute shit beat out of her, which again is very much like the Undertaker-Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell match. And then a big bruiser heel comes in at the end and costs the babyface the match. I got to admit that's got to be Raquel Gonzalez. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it as that's got to be Kane. But again, the story structure is very similar and it's there. Nowhere near as dramatically interesting because we had no build-up to Raquel Gonzalez and, not quite the spectacle of the Hell in a Cell match. No blood, no big cage or anything like that. No major highlights, nothing special in the grand scheme of things. But overall, it was solid for what it was. It was an entertaining match, and it was fun while it lasted. And Dakota Kai got the win, which is probably the good move, just to have a good secondary heel in the... Actually, she might be the top heel in the division for the women, because Shayna's pretty much moved off of NXT, so it's like, yeah, Dakota might be the top heel for the women in NXT right now, which is interesting. But overall, that was solid for what it was. Again, nothing great, nothing special, but it was solid. Perfectly enjoyable match. Then we had Finn Balor taking on Johnny Gargano, the battle for who is the flag bearer for NXT. I thought the match maybe took a little while to get going, but it was also really long, so once it got going, it got really, really good, and became a really good match, and the type of match you would expect these two to have with each other. Finn Balor got the win, which I liked. Again, I'm all about keeping the heel strong. And I'll talk more about Johnny Gargano in a little bit, but I feel like Finn is the better investment at this point. Moving forward, it sounded like some of the fans were booing Johnny even before what happened in the main event. I don't know, maybe that's just me. That's how it was kind of coming across. But again, I'll talk more about Johnny when I get into the main event. Then we had was probably my least favorite match on the show, Rhea Ripley defending the NXT Women's title against Bianca Belair. The match was fine, but again, it had that dramatic problem that I talked about where Charlotte was the bigger story. Even in the preview package leading into this match, Charlotte seemed to be a bigger player in the story than Bianca was. Again, Bianca was there to lose the Rhea Ripley. That's pretty much all it was. And the post-match was more interesting than the match itself, with Charlotte coming out and beating up Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, and officially accepting Rhea Ripley's challenge for an NXT title match at WrestleMania. So we're going to get Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley at the grand stage at WrestleMania 36. Are they up to 36 at this point? I don't know. I've lost count since they stopped numbering them. Thanks a lot, WWE. But anyway, of course, I've also lost count because I'm drinking whiskey. But anyway, yeah, I thought the match itself was fine. Maybe a little clunky in places, but overall it was fine. But again, it just felt like a title match that was thrown out there just to pad Rhea Ripley's stats and nothing else beyond that, which isn't always a bad thing. But yeah, it just kind of, short gain for a long-term goal, I guess is the best way to sum that match up. And then we had the tag team title match of the Broserweights, Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, defeating Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era and becoming the new champions. Okay, I'm going to knock Matt Riddle slightly here. The beginning bit where the entrance was cool. I like the entrance with the Broserweights. I had the little golf cart thing there, whatever that was. I thought it looked like the Pope Mobile, actually, but I thought that was really cool. But him redoing the how much fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish. It was funny on NXT the week before, but it was funny once. Please don't do it again. And then they made it into a bit with the full sing-along lyrics at the bottom of the screen. I'm like, oh jeez, oh no. That's WWE comedy creeping in, so where something gets a laugh and then they just pound into the ground. I'm like, guys, it was funny once. You don't need to do it again, and please don't make this a running gag. It was funny once, and just let it be the one time, and you're good. But I thought I thought the match itself was very good. Maybe it kind of played into the whole criticism that people have of modern tag matches, where the rules of tag team wrestling go out the window and people stop tagging and everything else. And it played into that a little bit for sure. But the action was exciting, and I think the title change helped elevate it. It was like, oh cool, the Broserweights won. That was kind of neat. So we got a big title change out of it. Entertaining match. Nice action-packed stuff. Overall, really good. Enjoyed it. And then we had the main event of Adam Cole successfully defending the NXT title against Tommaso Ciampa. I thought the match was very good, except for two things. One, the brawling outside the ring felt like it was going on a little too long, to the point where I was like, why has no one been counted out yet? What's going on here? And another thing was the ending, where it got to be a little too much, where the Undisputed Era ran out and tried to help Cole, and then Ciampa fought them off, and then Johnny Gargano came out and ultimately cost Ciampa the belt. And I'm like, I feel like you could have just done the Gargano thing, and I think that would have been fine. Actually, what I would have done would have been to have a stipulation in place where the Undisputed Era was completely barred from ringside, or else Adam Cole would forfeit the title and then do the Johnny Gargano thing as like a way to get around that. But I thought the match overall was very good. I thought maybe the ending was a little bit too much. Maybe it veered a little bit into that, like, you know, bad WCW, bad TNA territory. And not fully into it, but maybe like dipped a toe into that pool. And now we're getting Ciampa versus Gargano as like the main feud. And I have not watched this week's NXT yet. I typically watch it on Saturday by then it's typically on the network, and I'm able to watch it at that point. When it comes to the Wednesday night shows, I'll watch AEW Dynamite Live and then watch NXT later because it's on the network. It's just easier that way. But so I don't know how they followed it up yet. However, I wasn't too excited at the prospect of another Gargano-Ciampa feud. I feel like that story's done. I feel like it was done. And also, I remember what happened the last time they tried to turn Johnny Gargano heel, and it wasn't great. It was not great, and I think it did some damage to Johnny, where he basically is an attempted murderer, where he attacked Aleister Black backstage, and then they just dropped it out of nowhere. It's like, are we supposed to just forget that he's an attempted murderer? It was one of the few times where NXT's booking kind of wasn't very clean, and so the idea of a Johnny Ciampa revisiting of that feud with Johnny as the heel and Ciampa as the face, and yes, the motivation's there. It's like you don't even have to explain why Johnny did what he did. It makes perfect sense, but I don't know. I'm not overly excited about it. I'm like, you know, I don't know. Maybe if they do something like a Hell in a Cell, that would be a nice way to kind of elevate things. I don't know. But as is, I thought the match was really good. Very exciting. Both guys worked really hard. It's just, you know, maybe sand off the rough edges a little bit, you'd have an even better match. Maybe a match of the year candidate. As is, it was just really, really good. And that pretty much sums up this takeover for me. It's not one of my favorite takeovers, but it was a nice action-packed show all the way through. Nice, simple stuff all the way through. Easy watch. It was over before I knew it. You know, it was over before I knew it. It flew by. It was well-paced and everything. Wasn't a drag. So all good stuff all around. So yeah, NXT TakeOver Portland gets a thumbs up for me for sure. And now we're going to do some previews of things. Well, one big preview, because I feel like I've already previewed AEW Revolution. I did that in the last video, and the only major change to the card since I talked about it was that we do have our tag team contenders set in stone. Based on this week's Dynamite, the Young Bucks will be the ones challenging Hangman Page and Kenny Omega for the AEW tag team titles. That'll be a very interesting match given the history between all four guys. As is, I think the card's really exciting, and I'm really interested in seeing what they do with certain matches. Moxley versus Jericho, MJF versus Cody, Dustin versus Hager. I'm finally getting my Haas match that I've been begging for months. So that's really good. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to, and I think the last 2 episodes of Dynamite have been stellar. Like, the last 2 episodes in particular have been top-notch stuff. I mean, that cage match this week was a wild spectacle, and Cody is one crazy son of a bitch. For damn sure. I was like, that moonsault off the cage, I'm like, Cody, what are you doing, man? Don't do that. You crazy bastard, man. And it seemed to start with that wild segment with Cody and MJF and the whipping and that whole thing. And since then, like, the last 2 Dynamites have just been, I think, stellar. Arguably 2 of their best shows. Maybe even their 2 best shows to date. I really enjoyed the Tag Team Battle Royal this week. I really enjoyed, even though, again, it was more that video gamey, throw the tag team rules out the window, I thought Lucha Brothers versus Hangman and Omega was a really good match. And we've got Omega versus Pac in a 30-minute Iron Man match to look forward to next week. So they've been delivering some pretty big stuff. And yeah, I'm excited for the pay-per-view. Let's do it. I'm thinking about hosting another Dynamite, well, not a Dynamite party, but an AEW pay-per-view party where I have some friends over and we get pizza and beer and get drunk and watch wrestling. It'll be a good time for everybody. Good time all around. But, yeah, again, I've already previewed the card. I'm just going to state here that I just really enjoy. I've been enjoying Dynamite a lot the last couple of weeks, and the card for Revolution's looking really, really good. The only major knock right now in AEW is their women's division is still lacking a direction. And even this week's show, it's like, all right, it's still the weakest part of the show. Actually, the best part of the women's division lately has been heel Britt Baker. She started with a clumsy heel promo where she turned heel on the Cruise episode. And since then, she's been getting better and better, and she's delivering some of the best promos on the show. So it's like, all right, heel Britt Baker is the best thing in the women's division right now. I've been calling her Dr. Bitch Baker, and I think it's kind of great. But other than that, the women's division is still really lacking. And I think the Nightmare Collective was their way of trying to have like a direction, and that didn't work, so they pretty much dropped that. And now it's like they've got to go back to struggling to find a direction. Now the belt's on Nyla Rose, and maybe they can do something with that. It's a monster heel. I would even toy around with the idea of making the transgender thing like front and center in the angle and just making that the thing. Because as they say, what did Eric Bischoff say? He wrote a book about it. Controversy creates cash. And I think that would be an interesting way to go. It's topical. It's relevant to current events. And it would get under a lot of people's skins. And I think that wrestling kind of needs that a little bit, kind of push some buttons. And I don't know, I like it when wrestling pushes buttons. But I was a fan during the Attitude Era, so what do you say? Hell, I have been on this channel, I have defended the Sergeant Slaughter Iraqi sympathizer angle. That's how much in favor I am of pushing buttons, okay? I have openly supported that angle and said that I actually really enjoyed it and I liked it because it pushed buttons. But not that I'm saying be offensive for the sake of being offensive, but if you can do it well, I think there's a story to be told there that you could probably do something good with. But in any case, the other show I wanted to talk about is Super Showdown, the next Saudi Arabia show that WWE is doing, and I cannot believe some of those talents are willing to go back. Actually, I'd like to do a comparison of, I'm not going to do it now, but how many of the guys that got left behind the last time, how many of them came back for this show? I'd be interested in seeing how that went, because I'll tell you right now, if I was one of those guys that got left behind the last time, I'd be like, I'm not going back, and if you want to get in my face about it, you go ahead and fucking fire me. I'm not getting stuck in a foreign country. That is not happening to me again. I'm not going back. It was a bad situation. I felt so sorry for all the guys that got stuck there, but we've got another Saudi show to look forward to, and I think I've only watched one of the Saudi Arabia shows in its entirety, because maybe two. Yeah, I think I've watched two of them in their entirety, but generally I'm just kind of like, the shows don't have a good atmosphere. They're not very good. They're awkward to watch because of all the implications of the deal between WWE and Saudi Arabia, and it's, I don't know, it's just, there's a weird vibe to those shows that I just don't enjoy, and I have no intention of watching this show in its entirety. However, there are two matches I do want to check out, just for morbid curiosity's sake. Well, one match for morbid curiosity, and another match because I think it could be a really good match, assuming everything goes well. So, going over the entire card, we've got Seth Rollins and Murphy, not Buddy Murphy, just Murphy, defending the Raw Tag Team titles against the Street Profits. Oh, good. They're actually giving the Street Profits something to do, besides put on horribly unfunny comedy skits backstage. For the Smackdown Tag Team Championship, we've got the New Day defending against Miz and Morrison. I'm like, all right, that's not bad. We've got a match for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley defending against either Carmella or Naomi. I don't envy anybody who has to perform in that match. It's like, okay, I hope you enjoy the t-shirts and the bodysuit, women, because you're about to have an uncomfortable time working in front of that crowd. And then we've got a gauntlet match for the Tuwaiq Trophy. AJ Styles versus Andrade versus Bobby Lashley versus Eric Rowan versus R-Truth versus Rusev. Is the Rusev-Lashley feud still going? Did they ever get like an official closer to that feud? I don't even know. Again, I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown at all this year. I don't really care about any of that, but the two matches that interest me, for the WWE Championship, we've got Brock Lesnar defending against Ricochet. No way in hell Lesnar drops the title to Ricochet. That ain't happening. He's facing Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. If he's going to drop the title, it's going to be there. But I think because Brock works so well with those lighter guys that high fly, I think this could be like a really fun match to watch, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. And the other match I'm genuinely interested in, just to see how the hell they book this thing, The Fiend Bray Wyatt defending the WWE Universal title against Bill Goldberg. Hopefully this match goes better than Goldberg's last match in Saudi Arabia. And again, I'm having a hard time picturing how this match is going to go, because you think Goldberg, it's like he's the guy that spears and jackhammers people into oblivion. And then you got The Fiend, who's the guy that no-sells everything. He's like the New Age Undertaker, so it's like, how's this going to go? I'm legitimately intrigued how this match is going to go. And it's always fun when you have characters that are booked completely different from everybody else, and you put them in a weird match or a weird situation, and you're like, I don't know how that's going to work. I want to see that. And that's kind of how I feel about this match. Also, I am a fan of the Fiend character. I am a fan of Goldberg, so there is like a legitimate intrigue there as a fan of both guys. Hopefully they've had the good sense. I mean, they didn't turn the red light on at Royal Rumble, so I hope that means, all right, no red light. We're done with that, okay? We're not doing that anymore with the Fiend. Hopefully they've learned their lesson. But yeah, I highly doubt the Fiend's going to drop the title here. Maybe they could do a disqualification. I could see them doing that. I also thought maybe they could do use this as a springboard to do Roman Reigns versus Goldberg versus the Fiend at WrestleMania. But it looks like it's going to be the Fiend versus Roman Reigns. Unless something crazy happens here, I don't know. But I don't see the Fiend losing the title here, so we'll see what happens. But as is, it's an interesting match. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm not going to watch this full show in its entirety because fuck that. What will probably happen will, when it drops on the network, I will probably fast forward to the two matches I want to see and watch those, and then I'll talk about them whenever I get around to making a video about it. So that is that. So that pretty much concludes everything I wanted to talk about. So again, sorry for the delay on this video, but technical mishaps will be technical mishaps. And again, tell me all what you think about the potential Nitro video series that I kind of want to do. Maybe I can make something fun out of that. Who knows? Once again, thank you everybody for the support. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the little bell icon so you get notified when I post my next videos. And be sure to follow me on Twitter. The link is in the description. But that is all I have for you now. Thanks again everybody for watching, and you all enjoy your weekend.